about Christians. Share your testimony. Y'all know the story of the woman at the well, right? Jesus comes up to a Samaritan woman at a well and tells her everything she's ever done. She in turn believes that he's the Messiah and goes and tells everybody in the town. John 4:39 says, many Samaritans from that town believed in him, Jesus, because of the woman's testimony. If you want to share the gospel, the good news, the perfect way to start is through your testimony. Talk about what Jesus did in your life, how he saved you, and what he's currently doing in your life. And just like in this story, many people will believe in Jesus because of your testimony. So if y'all want people to believe in Jesus, share your testimony. I love y'all and God bless. Please share this video if it helped you out and let me know any questions in the comments.
A little bit about my life. I was shot when I was 17 years old and I was paralyzed. Thank God for Deacon Utley for how many times at the church I had to go to him and say, just pray for me, my attitude, and how much of a long way it have brought me from, just like David, from going from the shepherd's pasture all the way up to the top. God has brought me from the streets to be a nurse, about to be a nurse practitioner in about 8 months. Yes. And you know, God is so good. Even though I'm in a wheelchair, God has allowed me to step on in my life. And what I wanted to say to the ladies, even when I was in a dark place, I was 17 years old and got shot and they told me I would never walk again. I've had to learn that in darkness, God created lightness. When he moved upon the earth and seeing that the earth was dark, he said, let there be light. And he looked at me the same way. He moved upon my life and he seen it was darkness all around my life. And he brought so much light forth. And I thank God that he's continuing to use my light around the whole world to bring lightness to other people. So I encourage any and everybody who think they are sitting in darkness. This is the best time of your life, and know that you're not alone. And in darkness, do God create light.
God just healed me, and I'm like shaking right now. Literally shaking. So ever since quarantine started, I've been feeling physical pain throughout my whole left side of my body. I was on antibiotics for a month and the pain just never subsided. The last couple days I've been in excruciating amount of pain, but today my friend came over and we started praying, and I asked her to lay hands on my back. And I said, please just like ask God to heal me because I've prayed and I can't get healed. And within a moment, guys, the pain completely just went away from me. I just started weeping because I didn't even realize how much pain I was in and how much freedom was available. So God still heals today, and that's my testimony.
Here's my testimony.
I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise, but I am going to share my story and how I know it's only Jesus. Because after I was trafficked, I tried for 7 years to do it myself, to be strong enough to just get through it. And guess what? That amounted to me having panic attacks every day, me being afraid to go to Walmart, me being convinced someone broke into my house trying to kill me being so hooked on substances just to have a glimpse of peace, and me being malnourished because my body stopped taking nutrients from food. I was completely done. And one night I cried out to God and I was angry. And I said, if you make me wake up tomorrow, you have to do this for me because I am absolutely done. I did not want to live anymore. And it's been almost 8 years. And ever since then, I haven't had a single panic attack. That's without medication and therapy. That's only Jesus. Only Jesus. And I've just clung to him ever since. And that's how I have peace and joy. And I'm able to live this purpose. That's like telling someone who had gastric bypass surgery and they lost 200 pounds that the surgery doesn't work. Well, you can't tell them that. It already worked.
Hey! So what happened? What just happened?
Oh my gosh. Well, we came upon this girl out of here, and her name was Jane. And she was pregnant, and she was selling like some jewelry.
Yeah.
And we like talked to her about.
You got jewelry?
I got.
Yes!
We talked to her about just like what the Lord has done through our lives, and like the Lord kind of like highlighted that she's struggling with like fear and
Wow.
like depression and anxiety. And so Juliana was able to pray over her. We were all able just to like encourage her, and then she chose to accept Christ. So we got to pray for her.
Come on! Let's go!
This old man knocked on the window of my car in a parking lot. Turns out he was a man of God, and he shared something powerful with me that I think you need to know. He told me that when a nation rebels against God and their hearts turn to evil, God allows a wicked leader to rule the nation. And that's exactly what we see going on today. There's a simple message behind what he shared with me today, and that is that we cannot expect you-know-who to come back in 2024 to change things in this country. We can't change everything going on in this country by changing people's minds about politics. The only hope that this nation has is the gospel of Jesus Christ, because believing the gospel is the only way that the hearts of the people in this country will turn away from evil and be transformed. So keep that in mind every time you see how pathetic this guy is, or when you get frustrated when you see all the corruption going on. You never know how much wisdom you can get from a short talk with an old man of God in the parking lot.
So being in a sorority was the most normal thing to do. This is where things get kind of crazy. Sororities can be great and teach you a lot of good values to have, but they can also lead you in the wrong direction. I started going to a lot of parties. I was drinking, not hanging out with the right people, cursing a lot, just completely falling away from my faith. Until I needed God, of course. That's when I would run back to him and be like, hey, I need something. I would go to parties weekly and only going to church maybe once a week. For me, I thought this would help take care of my anxiety. But it definitely did not. I broke up with my long-term boyfriend from high school and started talking to a new guy who got me into more partying. I wasn't dressing modestly and overall just doing horrible things. After partying for a while, I knew deep down that what I was doing was not okay. After battling myself in these thoughts for a while, I finally came to the conclusion that I was just paying so much money for college just to go to parties. I had no idea what I was doing. I just overall hated school. My grades still weren't good in college, so I decided it was time to drop out. I had two very, very close friends. We'll call them Cassidy and Ava. Cassidy and I had been best friends for like 4 years. She randomly stopped talking to me. Ava, I basically called my soulmate, but in best friend form. I could be myself around her, and I had never laughed harder with anybody else. She stopped talking to me too. After 2 whole years of friendship, everyone slowly started dropping like flies. No one was really around anymore. I told that one guy that we couldn't talk anymore, and I finally started getting back into my faith. I was reading my Bible every single day, probably like 2 to 3 whole chapters, along with journaling and taking deep, deep notes. Though I was very alone, I felt whole. Obviously still missing the people that meant so much to me, but I had realized that it all happened for a reason. But this is also when I started struggling with anxiety even more. My mind had convinced itself that something was wrong with my heart. I wouldn't allow myself to have any sugar, no caffeine, and to never work out. I was terrified of my heart reaching levels that it wasn't supposed to. So my mom took me to get an echo done, which is basically just an ultrasound on your heart. They found nothing wrong. I still wasn't convinced, so I got a heart monitor. I had to wear it for 2 weeks. They found nothing. It got to the point where I couldn't even be outside in the heat without having a panic attack. I couldn't drive anymore. The thoughts from my car accident kept overwhelming me. I couldn't even go to work. And I didn't want to see a therapist, because in my mind, that meant that there was something actually wrong with me, and I had to admit it. But finally I started listening to the people around me, and I started seeing a therapist, which I highly recommend. And about 4 or 5 months ago, I met my boyfriend Blake, and overall I've just been trying to really focus on God. I've made a commitment to myself to not hang around toxic people or people that would try to lead me away from the Lord. Don't get me wrong, life is still hard. But the thing is God never promised us an easy life. My favorite verse, John 13:7, is the only thing that got me through trials. You may not understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will. I hope that my testimony can help some of you throughout your journey. If you have any questions, leave them below. I love you so much. Mwah.